On this episode of the Ask Justin Show, we answer questions from you. Question number 1, how do I think like an owner? Question number 2, what do I do or why do I avoid looking at my numbers? And number 3, how do I tell if I'm being patient or scared? And yes, I wrote these on marker because I'm gonna forget. Welcome to another episode of the Ask Justin Show. My fidget spinner. You know, on Christmas vacation, actually, this is a true story. It took me a day and a half to figure out how to get this thing to close. You know what the answer is? Soft hands. Soft hands. Dale actually figured it out first. Boom, got it. You're up.
Everyone says, think like an owner. What does that actually mean day to day?
So, how to think like a business owner. Hannah, do you know what a sine wave is? It's like the thing on the EMG thing that goes up and then it drops right down. That's actually what business ownership is like. Right. So it goes up and then at one point it dips and comes back up. A sine wave goes boom like that, right? The reason why that's important is because when you think like a business owner, you have to be like a sine wave. It means that you have to see the business at a highest level. You have to be very high level. You have to understand strategy. You have to understand what needs to happen and when, and have a long-term view of not just today and the long term. But then when you decide and figure out what the actual problem is, you dive in. And so either extreme, you get in trouble. And I've actually had this problem in the past. I always wanted to work on the business and be the business owner and see a high level. And I'm very good at that. The problem is, in a small business, we're still a small business. I would say under $10 million, you're a small business. So if you're out there 100, 200, 500, 600, 700,000, one of the traps, if you were like me who wanted to own a business and be a CEO, is that they don't spend enough time executing, right? See the business, I want to work on it. I want to think about long-term strategy and plan and vision. But like today we have to fix the sales process and go make some money. Tomorrow we have to go run a workshop and get 3 more discovery visits. And so thinking like a business owner means that you have to live in both worlds. You have to be able to see it at a high level, and then you have to get into it. I think that Gary Vee used to call that clouds and dirt. See the business at a high level and then get down to the dirt and make some things happen. I had the opposite problem of most entrepreneurs. Most business owners, they are in the dirt and they never look up. They can't see the bigger vision. They can't get outside of what they're doing on that day. It's just did I get a new patient in today? Can I get one in tomorrow? They're in the dirt. They're in the weeds. But the other thing is also true where the business grows too slow, which was where I struggled, right? We were growing too slow because I wanted to be the CEO, manage a team, and lead people, when for a long time, I just needed to learn how to market and sell. I need to learn how to put another workshop on. I need to learn how to make more money. And so being a CEO of a company, I have to be able to do both. Now, the challenge moving into the team member is that where I've seen the transition struggle is that business owners have to live in both. And the ones that are successful do that amazingly well. Clouds and dirt. In and out, sine wave, whatever analogy, metaphor you want to use. The problem is they try to recreate that when they hire their staff. And so then they want their team to see the higher level and they want them to get into the weeds. And they want to see the higher level and get into the weeds. You don't hire people for that. If you look at our business, the more we've grown, the more we've hired people to do specific things. I don't need Antonio to also be the finance expert. I need Antonio to be good at what he's good at. I need to be a content specialist. That's what we need. I don't need him to do everything. That's my job. But business owners often, they think I'll hire my first associate. And it's well, because I had to go and market and I had to treat patients and I had to learn how to sell and I had to learn finance, they're going to do that too. It's if they were going to do that, they should just own their own business. So the challenge that most business owners have is the ability to live in both worlds. And really your business will get stuck if you stay in one world too much.
Why do I avoid looking at my numbers even though I know I shouldn't?
This was a question on Mastermind yesterday, actually. Someone they literally said, Justin, I'm making more money than ever, but I still have nothing to show for it. And actually, it was funny. The question is never the question. The question became, it started as, what books should I read to help my business grow? This is actually a good point. I know you didn't ask this, but it's an important point. What book should I read to help my business grow? And my next question back was, tell me what problem you're trying to solve. I said, he's well, I have a bunch. Well, no shit, Sherlock, everyone does. What's the one? What's the one problem you're trying to solve? And then he said, got get into the good stuff. He said, I'm making more money than ever, but I feel like at the end of the month, I have nothing to show for it. Great. Personal finance. And actually the answer in the last year, this is actually a very solvable problem. Because the easiest tactic is actually to use AI and ChatGPT as your CFO. And I'm going to go into the weeds a little bit and then I'll zoom back out. Actually, does this on Instagram and podcast? Both? Yeah. Yeah, I will be. Okay. So we actually have a project. We have a project that I created personally in my custom GPT for my community. If you're listening to this video and you want my GPT project on becoming the CFO, it has the prompt and has everything. Click the link or send us a message. Do something. Get in touch with us. I'll send it to you for free. Yeah, send me a smoke signal. I have a GPT project specifically to be your CFO. Basically what it is you can upload your bank statements both personally and business-wise, and then ask it to act as your CFO to see where you're overspending, where you're underspending, where the money's going, where it's coming from, what cash flow looks like. And I've been able to create that in GPT. Long-term, there's no world in which I don't think internally in Rehab Chiro, we could create a GPT CFO or a AI CFO. That is probably one of the best things that it can do for it. Now, that's the tactics. Let's zoom out a bit. This is the same reason why someone knows they need to lose weight, know what to do, but doesn't, right? There's something internally blocking us. And the answer to this question, we could spend 3 hours on it. Because for many of us, we avoid the hard things in life. We avoid the conversations we don't want to have. We avoid the reality. It's easier just to brush it aside than to actually look at it staring back at your face. For many people, the money conversations, think about growing up. How many people grew up thinking we don't talk about money? You've heard, oh, it's impolite to ask people about money. We're in a culture where I think it's crazy. If it were up to me, it wouldn't be this way. But like, you can't even share how much money you make with people. That's like improper. That is just the society we live in. So at every step of the way, one of the most important things to living our lives is something that we've constantly brushed to the side and have to keep in secret. So it is fundamentally part of our being that you are going to brush it to the side, your finances, because we have taught fundamentally to never deal with it. Now, go one step beyond that. If you're listening to this and you grew up with financial hardship, or you grew up with parents who are really frugal, or if you grew up in a situation where money was unstable, now it just brings up pain. It is pure pain. It is pain in your life. You got into a profession as a chiro, as a PT, to not deal with that. You want to treat patients and help people. You didn't want to manage a budget. You just kind of hoped one day that all things would work out, that you crack someone's back and like money would shoot out their asshole. I just said that for Antonio to see if he was still paying attention. You got that one. I'm just muted. But the fact of the matter is most people avoid it because they're afraid of what it's going to show. And as I've always said, like, often for me, where I've lived in my life is like, what are the hard things in life and how do I lean into them? What can I do to pay attention to it? So if money conversations are hard, what do I need to do? I need to have it. I need to communicate it. And this has happened in my own life too, we've been really fortunate the last few years in my family to make money that like we didn't have for a long time. And my wife and I have constant conversations of like, wow, this is great. But my wife is like, what do we do with it? Or what if we lose it? Or what if this all goes away? It's a real thing. And so it's constant communication. It's constant communication about it, but I want to address it. Something else for us, just talking about money in general. Again, it's actually one of my favorite topics. It's funny because I'll get questions from our community of, I got one the other day. So Justin, I know you're not a financial advisor, but what would you do in my situation? But they're actually really cool. They had enough money to pay off all of their student loans, but didn't know if they should reinvest in the business. And I was like, I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm really good with personal finance and I can help you. Now, the thing with this is that if it isn't communicated and what is left unsaid eventually will become a problem. I'll give you one for our house personally. My wife, we bought this house and I knew it was going to happen. I was not upset about it at all. Like, we buy this house, it's a big house, which means that every day you walk around and there's another project that can get done. My wife, her thing is she loves to do those things. Me, I would live in a shoebox. In fact, I did for a decade. I don't care. Zero care. I would rather do about a trillion other things than work on my house. If it's clean and it's safe, I'm good. It doesn't mean that she's right or I'm wrong and she's right. It just means that it's different. The problem is if it wasn't communicated properly, both of us are going to be pissed off. My biggest fear is that we do all these home projects and we do all this stuff and then we run out of money or we're irresponsible with it. Her biggest pain point is that she feels stuck because I won't let her spend the money. So fundamentally, we're in trouble. We're in trouble if we don't communicate it. This is actually, I created my own custom project in GPT. I literally just spoke to my custom GPT about exactly what I said, and I asked it based on our money, our income, our budget, where we're going, what our goals are. And I literally asked our custom GPT to come up with a monthly budget that would be good for Justin to know that we're going to be fine, and that would be good for Dell to know that she could do whatever she wanted. And at the end of it, what it spit out was one number. And the conversation that Dell and I had was basically, listen, this is what your budget is. You can spend this every single month. You don't have to tell me about it. In fact, quite frankly, I don't even want to know about it unless you want to tell me that we got stuff. If you have to want to go above that, then we talk. But outside of that, you do you. This is your thing. Even using that, we usually avoid it. And if you think about it, where do most marriages fail? They fail for they don't agree on finances, they don't agree on kids, they don't agree on religion, and they don't agree on in-laws typically. Those are the four. Money is one of those four. And so if you are listening to this and you're a business owner, we just went outside of your chiropractic practice. I know you came here for chiro advice, but I'm hopefully giving you some life advice, is that if you are someone who this question was you or is you, that you haven't looked at your budget and finance, there's 100% chance the same thing's happening at home. And I can tell you it's going to lead to heartache down the line. So I'm begging you, if you're out there and this is your thing, please take it seriously. It's very important.
How do I tell if I'm being patient or just putting things off because I'm scared?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Actually, it's a very simple answer. It is a very simple answer. The answer is that we are unbelievably patient with outcomes and unbelievably impatient with action. Let me say that again. That was good. Good job, Justin. Impatient with action, unbelievably patient with outcomes. If you are someone who feels like you're scared, you don't know what to do, you don't know where to turn, the thing is go and take action. I think Jocko Willink says, if you're in the woods and don't know which way to go, pick a direction and run, because at least you'll know very quickly that it's the wrong direction. And I think where most people get stuck in business and in life is that they have fight, flight, or freeze, and they freeze. As a business owner, my friends, this will put you out of business faster than anything. How do I know? Because this was me. There's a test out there called the Kolbe Index. It is a work style test. When I first opened my business, there's one of the categories is a quick start, 0 to 10. 10 is like you move as fast as humanly possible, and 1 is like you're slow as shit. You need all the information before you do it, make a decision. I was a 1. And my business and my bank account showed it. I have changed because I retook the test. They say the test doesn't change. It changes now. I'm a 6 or a 7 now. I'm not a 10, but I'm a 6 or a 7. And I can directly attribute the success I've had in business because of that. Now, the biggest complaint I get from our team is that we move too fast. It was like, you had that idea yesterday. I know, but that was yesterday. So for all of you, it has to be, I'm impatient with the action I'm going to take, but I'm extremely patient with the outcome. When you're running, let's just go tactical here. It's like, think about the reason why we've been successful with like marketing is because we're willing to go fast to test ads. This actually happened last week. When is this coming out? In February?
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, we've released our book, and part of our book is that we released a webinar with the book. So I worked on this webinar for literally like 50 to 60 hours, and I had coaching on it and went through it. And then we got to the end, and my coach, Andy, he goes, it's good enough, but we won't know until we get it out there and test it. And there was a point in time where it's like, we just have to go. We don't know anymore. We did enough, and we just have to put it out there. And so we're recording this about a week before the launch, and I have no idea how it's going to do, but I'm patient with the result. I don't care. I was impatient with getting it out there and making iterations, but now I got to go put it out there, and it might do nothing, but that's fine. I'm patient. I'll do it over again. I'll do it for a month. I'll figure it out, but I will figure it out. I'm very patient with the outcomes that I get. I'm very impatient with the actions that I take. So impatient with the action, patient with the outcome. All right, what do we think? Good episode? Another beautiful episode of the Ask Justin Show. Remember to like and follow, or you're going to piss off our team.